All right, we're a few seconds, I guess, past the top of the hour, so let's get going. Alcor is pleased to welcome you all to today's webinar. Alcor is a global cloud advisory and implementation services company serving Fortune 500, government agencies, and other leading organizations in multiple industry verticals across the Americas, Canada, and India. Alcor is also a ServiceNow Gold Services and Gold Sales partner. We partner with leading technology companies, including AWS, FireEye, Microsoft, Okta, Incorda, and 3C Logic. We advise leading businesses on cloud platforms, architecture, enterprise service management, and integrating IT service delivery. We also provide business process consulting to capture, re-engineer, and improve processes that can easily be automated to deliver real value. The Alcor consulting team has excellence in business strategy, cloud technology, and organizational change management. Our ongoing webinar series is designed to inform, enlighten, and start discussions within your own organizations. If you require any additional information after listening to today's webinar, please reach out to us through our website, www.alcortech.com. We have time reserved at the end of the webinar for Q&A, so please feel free to type any questions into the questions section of the webinar dashboard. Today's webinar topic is Professional Application Package Solution, powered by Oracle Apex on AWS, presented by Supriya Aggarwal and Mayank Singh. Supriya is the Software Development Manager at Alcor Solutions and oversees software development and requirement management in the electronic healthcare domain at Alcor Solutions, leading a team of brilliant database developers and business analysts in our India office. She previously worked with Oracle India for 8 years, where she led a team of application and database developers. She spearheaded several end-to-end software development projects, simplified complex business processes with innovative approaches, transformed legacy processes to fulfill requirements, and led cross-functional, virtual, and multi-locational teams. Mayank is a database technical consultant at Alcor Solutions who has experience in creating complete cloud solutions, implementing database patches, upgrades, disaster recovery solutions, database migrations, and high availability solutions. Mayank is an AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, an Oracle Certified Developer, and DBA. He also has a bachelor's degree in computer science engineering. I will now turn the webinar over to Supriya and Mayank.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. This is Supriya Aggarwal. In this session today, I'm going to introduce you to Oracle Application Express. We also call it Apex. I'm going to take you through what is Oracle Application Express, the distinguishing characteristics of Application Express, what are the use cases, what is the architecture like, the multi-tenant software as a service, what is the cost benefit of using Apex, and the developer and reporting layout in Application Express. What is Oracle Application Express? It is a rapid web application development tool for the Oracle database. Apex enables you to design, develop, and deploy responsive database-driven applications. Apex combines the qualities of a low-code tool such as productivity, flexibility, simplicity, with the qualities of an enterprise development tool such as security, integrity, scalability, and availability. For the end user, the deployed applications require only a web browser and access to Oracle database that is running the Oracle Application Express instance. Apex is a database-centric web application development framework. It allows you to develop desktop and mobile web applications. It helps you visualize and maintain your database data, and it helps you leverage your SQL skills and database capabilities. Apex is used to build desktop and mobile applications for the Oracle database, taking advantage of the large majority of Oracle database features. It quickly builds the reports, forms, charts, calendars on the top of the data in your database. What are the distinguishing characteristics of Apex? When you use Apex, you don't need a client software installed. This is a declarative framework. There is no code that needs to be generated, and the data processing is done within the database. You simply use a web browser and the URL to access the development environment. You don't need to install any client software. All of the data processing on the web page is performed by PL SQL, acting directly on the data schemas in the Oracle database. Therefore, it is very efficient as the data is manipulated directly in the database and the results are sent back as HTML pages. With Apex, you develop faster and release your software versions more frequently. At the core of Apex is an engine that provides a variety of fundamental application capabilities and operations. Application authentication, the page and object level access control, the database interaction using SQL queries and updates, the validation of your forms, session management, and the security aspect of your application. They are all available as standard components in Apex that can be utilized from every application that you develop without doing any custom development. This makes your development process much faster. What are the use cases in Apex? With Apex, you could develop the self-service web applications. You could extend your enterprise application solutions. Wherever there's a gap you need to fill between your large enterprise applications, there could be a smaller, lighter version of application in Apex to glue all of your segregated enterprise applications together. Apex also helps you migrate your file-based or your client-server application to the web version of the application. Apex is widely used to rapidly build applications that are needed as soon as possible to meet the changing business requirements and maximize the competitive advantage. Apex is used for extending your commercial off-the-shelf software to streamline your business processes and meet the specific business requirements. Apex also webifies your spreadsheets and Microsoft Access applications to provide multi-user, secure, robust application with a single source of truth in your database. Apex is also commonly used to modernize old legacy client-server applications. These are the different use cases where Apex comes very handy as a development tool. What is the architecture of Apex? Apex is a very simple architecture where the page requests and submissions made from the browser are tunneled through the mid-tier to execute in the Oracle database, and the output is returned as HTML response to your browser. Apex is effectively a two-tier architecture where the client, that is your browser, talks to the Apex engine which resides in the Oracle database. Given that Apex resides in the Oracle database, it can be installed into any edition and any version of Oracle database 9.2 and above on the standard edition version, enterprise edition of your database, or your database express edition. The middle tier in the architecture can either be Oracle REST Data Service, ORDS, as you call it, which is running in the Java server like Oracle WebLogic Server, Oracle Glassfish Server, or your Tomcat server. The middle tier can also be, in a two-tier architecture, Oracle Embedded PL/SQL Gateway, which is part of the Oracle database. Or it can be Oracle HTTP Server with mod PL/SQL. So effectively, Apex can operate on a two-tier architecture as well as on a three-tier architecture. Apex does not consume any database resource. For example, it does not consume resources to maintain a dedicated connection for each user. What it does is, based on the processes that you need executed on the server for each of your web page, only for those processes the resources consumed, the connection is made. There's no dedicated connection that is maintained throughout the application consumption. This saves your resources. Apex is a multi-tenant software as a service. And why we say that? Because Apex enables a single database to host large number of users. Users work in a dedicated work area called a workspace. What is a workspace? A workspace enables multiple users to work within the same Apex installation while keeping their objects, the database objects, the data, and their applications private. This flexible architecture enables a single database instance to manage thousands of applications. It turns a single database into a hosted service, making it an ideal platform for consolidation of smaller data stores. The multi-tenant capabilities allow multiple development teams and their associated applications to coexist within one Oracle database, minimizing the cost. You need only one database instance, which majorly impacts the cost that is involved in the development process. Only one license for the database. This kind of an architecture helps to maintain the development environment in a much simplified manner. What is the cost benefit of using Oracle Application Express? Apex is a feature of Oracle database with no licensing costs for development or deployment of the Application Express applications. And why there is no licensing cost? Because Oracle Database Maintenance Agreement covers support for Application Express. When you sign up for Oracle Document Cloud Service, you are provided with a slice of Oracle Database with Application Express as a development environment. So you get it already pre-configured and ready to start developing with. Now let's come to Application Express user interface layout. Apex has an interactive grid layout. It is a modern, rich, interactive, multi-row editing component for your forms and for your reports. Apex has declarative support for cascading list of values. You could have a number of list of values working in coordination with each other, and there is also support for dynamic action. A dynamic action means that you have data processing components on your page that work dynamically without refreshing the entire page. Each time there is a new request, it utilizes minimum resources. So the overhead saves you a lot of processing, a lot of resources on your server. Apex supports a master and detail page layout. I will show that to you in my next slide. The master and detail page layout can be a single grid layout, can be multiple levels in width, or multiple levels deep. It could also be a combination of having pages structured with multiple levels in width and multiple levels in depth. So you could create an architecture for your application using any one of these designs which suits you the best. Apex uses JSON-based lightweight AJAX communication. It has client-side and server-side validation process. It has support for bind variables to reference your columns in reporting and forms. The execution scope on an Apex page could extend from only those rows that are modified or have new data to all of the data that appear on your screen in your report. Apex supports grouping the columns, fixed headers in your report, and also frozen columns. Apex has excellent keyboard support to help you maintain the accessibility component of your web application. Apex also supports the Oracle JET charts, the JavaScript extension toolkit charts that you could use on your reporting dashboard. It has declarative support for the data visualization components. This is a JavaScript-based solution. You could feed your data to the JET charts in the JSON format. This is a highly customizable interface. You could use a JavaScript code to call a function to initialize your chart, and you could these charts also support interactive behavior from the end user. You could click on the chart, have your data appear in different kinds of formats to make it more intuitive. Oracle JET charts have built-in support for accessibility and responsive design. Depending on the screen size where you're trying to view your web application, your dashboard, the charts resize themselves and help you see a clean layout. This is all built into Apex, so there is no custom development that you need to do. This shows you a preview of the different kind of JET charts that Apex supports. The JET, the JavaScript extension toolkit charts, are fully integrated into the Apex using a plugin architecture. Apex has declarative chart creation wizards that could help you design your charts using designer windows and wizard options. There is no hand coding that you need to do in order to configure these charts on your reporting layout. This makes your development process much faster. My slide now shows you the developer dashboard for building the Apex web page. The integrated development environment in Apex is modern, intuitive, and powerful browser-based solution. It is a great visual representation of your region and your items on your page in a layout structured into three parts on your screen. This supports intuitive drag and drop from the component gallery that you can see on the right side of the screen. It has enhanced code editor, which comes in very handy while writing your code inside Apex, because it helps you validate your SQL and PL SQL code with inline errors. And it also helps you with auto-completion. It helps you with the regular expression support and tabs and indentation of your code to structure your layout. Apex also supports display customization. It helps you set your screen reader mode on and off. And it also supports some default theme styles for your application. You could also create custom theme styles, but for a quicker turnaround time on your application, you could use the ones that are provided by default. I will give you a preview of a few of them. There is a theme named Vita in dark color with high contrast colors, and Vita in red color with a red and white layout. This brings me to the end of my discussion about Oracle Application Express. And now Mayank will discuss why we should host Apex on AWS Cloud Service and how we can help you do this.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Supriya. Just change presenting to Mayank and away we go.
Thank you, Supriya. Hello, everyone. So, as Supriya has already told about Oracle Apex and its benefit, now let's see how we can deploy it on AWS infrastructure. So, these are the topics which I'm going to cover today, which includes introduction to AWS, AWS in plain English, share responsibility model, and we'll see the Oracle Apex on EC2. We will see how we can deploy it from scratch, application with high availability, elasticity, and high security. Then we'll look into the high advanced security best practices. Then we'll see migration and transfer from on-premises to cloud. And in the end, we'll see continuous delivery using code pipeline. And we'll see a demo of high availability and elasticity and also continuous delivery. So basically, AWS is a cloud computing service offered by the Amazon.com. So it has mostly popular services like Elastic Compute Cloud, which is EC2, S3, RDS, and Lambda, and many more. So it was launched in 2006. It has several regions, and each region has several availability zones. So the major features are: it is on demand, it has pay-as-you-go model, it has a broad IT infrastructure platform, hybrid capabilities, and it has a global network of AWS regions, and it has SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS offerings. So these are the services which I'm going to cover in this webinar, which includes EC2, which you can think of as virtual servers running in cloud. And IAM is identity and access management, which into that you can create the users, groups, and keys. S3 is like an unlimited FTP server. VPC is like a networking area where you have the virtual co-located rack. So these are the you have RDS, which is a database as a service. It is a platform as a service as well. So, and we have Route 53. Into that we can configure AWS domains and DNS. And then we have SNS, which is used for mobile notifications. Then we have web application firewalls, code commit, which is similar to the GitHub. We can create our own repository within the AWS account. Then we have code deploy, which can deploy a code to the servers, which can run automation script. Then we have code pipeline that is used for continuous integration and delivery. And we have few monitoring and logging services also, which is CrowdTrail, which is used for logging, so that you can see who is looking your AWS stack. You have CloudWatch, which can basically alert, give you alert utilization. You can also create the dashboard for your AWS services. Then you have Inspector, which can audit your AWS account and find the security pithole. Now let's see the share responsibility model. So in the lower you will see the in orange one, this is the AWS responsibility, and in the upper end that is the customer's responsibility. So with us as in consultant, that will be our responsibility as well. So you have to only worried about your data. Now let's see Oracle Apex on AWS. So these are the benefits of it. Like you can basically the main benefit will be cost saving. So, and also you can go global in minute. You can like increase speed and agility. You can run Oracle database updates, apply patches without any downtime. And you can also implement the continuous delivery pipeline on the go. There are also there is a regular update to the system and the benefit of massive economies of scale. Now let's see deployment from scratch. So these are the few considerations, like buy your own license. So either you can bring your own license, or you can like let the Amazon to purchase the Oracle database license for you. Then you have to choose the database server. Like either you want to deploy it from scratch onto the infrastructure level, basically on EC2 server, or using the, or you want to deploy it on the PaaS, which is RDS. So you have to choose the right database. Like for Oracle Apex, it is only supported by the Oracle database. Then you have to choose the instance type, because that is based on the data size and application. If your application is big, then you have to choose the larger instance type, and then you have then you have to consider that if you want to create your application as global or just an intranet level. And the data, then you have to think about the database version. Either it can be 11G or 12C, or it can be a container database or non-container database. And with when you'll deploy from scratch, then these are the major services which will be used. Like for Route 53, again, it is for domain hosting. Through this, user will also make the request. And within the VPC, we have the internet gateway, route tables, subnets, and network access control list. So in EC2, we'll deploy our Oracle Apex and database server with security group. So this is the architecture overview. So like from on the left, user is making the request. Request is going through the Route 53, and Route 53 is passing the request to the internet gateway, and internet gateway is passing that to the route table, and route table is forwarding that request to the application instance. Application instance is configured with the Oracle database in the backend. So this is a three-tier application. Here we have the database layer, application layer, and that's the user making the request. And the database and the application is making connection using the ORDS, which is Oracle REST Database Service. And for the security, you have the security group, which is the application level security. Then you have a network access control list, which is a subnet level security. And then you have a VPC and a reason. And basically, now let's see the high availability. So basically, you can achieve the high availability in AWS using load balancer. So which can be used to basically duplicate the traffic across multiple availability zone, and basically you can distribute the traffic among multiple EC2 servers using a load balancer. So below is the considerations. It depends on what kind of application you have. Is it needs to be up every minute, every second, or you can survive the outage? Then you can create a load balancer or not. Is there a need for proxy servers? Because load balancer is also very good for mitigating the attacks, DDoS attacks. It has its own benefits also, like it can forward HTTP to HTTPS request, or it can basically again mitigate the DDoS attacks, and it can be integrated with the web application firewall and Shield as well. These are the AWS services. Now let's see the application with high availability. Here we have three stages: web server, app server, and database server. The requirement service level agreement is 99.5. Suppose we have a uptime of web server is 90%, app server is for app server it is 90%, and DB server it is 99%. So the total availability will be 80.2%, that is below the SLA. So let's suppose if we duplicate the web servers, then we have the availability of 88.2%. Here the 10%, you can think of 10% will be used for like applying security patches and upgrades and all. Then if you like again duplicate the application servers also, web servers also, then you have the 98.8% availability. That is still below the required SLA. And then if you again duplicate the servers in all stages, then you have 99.8 availability. So 8% availability. So the high availability is depend on basically RTO and RPO. So basically RPO means how far you can go back to the last backup, and with the RTO means how long you can go forward. So now let's see an application with the high availability in AWS. This is the architecture overlay. Again, here we have the same architecture, just the change is we have the elastic load balancer in between internet gateway and route table. So this elastic load balancer is basically just send when the user will make a request that will go to the Route 53, then it will forward that to the elastic load balancer according to the record set. Then this elastic load balancer will forward the traffic to one of these servers depending on the policy. Like it has a policy of a round robin session stickiness and all. then the web server will load. And if this server will go down, then still you have the availability. Still user will be able to access the website and database also. Then you can create your own load balancer also using the Nginx. You can set up the Nginx on EC2, which is also used for proxy server. So then you can create a custom load balancer, and with that you can distribute the traffic among two servers. And if you want the more high availability, then you can create a standby database like with Oracle Data Guard. You can duplicate your database. You can basically also forward the read-only traffic to this new standby database, and you have now duplicate two servers on application layer and two servers on database layer. That brings the high availability to the next level. And you can also use the RDS. With that, you don't need to worry about the high availability. That is managed by the AWS. Basically, in the backend, AWS will create its standby database, and but it has its own limitations also. Like you cannot create a continuous delivery pipeline with it, because you can't access the underlying host of the RDS server. Now let's see the elasticity, which means scale up and scale down anytime. So with the EC2 auto scaling, it helps you ensure that you have the correct number of Amazon EC2 instances available to handle the load for your application. So basically with the auto scaling, you can scale or scale down your EC2 instances depending on the traffic or the network utilization or CPU utilization, whatever the rule you have set. For example, if you have set that your CPU utilization is greater than 50%, then add 2 more instances to your stack. If the CPU utilization is reduced to 10%, then remove those 2 instances from your stack. Or you can also set that to the load balancer level. And if you want to keep your database instance private, then you can and you want to access the internet from that, then you can use the NAT gateway as well. So basically in this diagram here, we have the database server. Now this time it is in the private subnet. Private subnet means this database will not have any public IP. So it won't be able to access anything from the internet. Now there is a requirement that there is a patch which needs to be downloaded from a online repository. So for that you can use a NAT gateway. Through this NAT gateway, this database server will make a request, and that file will be downloaded, and you can then delete this NAT gateway as well. So there will be no you don't have to provide the public IP at all. Now let's see the demo on high availability and elasticity. For that, I'll go to my AWS account, which is Alcor DAV. Now we have a database server and 2 application servers are running. So if I go to the domain alcorsolutionco.in, and if I just refresh this page, so the request is going to the app server. And again, the request is going in the round robin manner. One request is going to the app 1 and app 2. So I have distinguished that using the image. So if I refresh this, the image is still loading. That is app 1 server, and this time image is gone. This is app 2 server. So that is the high availability. Basically, if I intentionally shut down this instance or terminate this instance, I will still be able to access my Oracle Apex application. Now this time the traffic will only go to the request will only go to the app 1 server, which has this image, and load balancer will mark that instance as unhealthy and stop sending the traffic to that instance. And within few seconds you will see a new instance will be created here, creating here. That will be the elasticity. Like if something happens, it will automatically detect and create a one more instance and attach that instance to the load balancer, and then load balancer will start distributing the traffic with that instance also. So it will take a few seconds, if I go to the load balancer, within the target, I have EC2 instances. Now I have only one EC2 instances, which is healthy. It has removed the other instance, which is Oracle Apex 2. Now, soon, autoscaling will detect that there is an unhealthy instance, and it will add one more instance to this load balancer stack. As its time period is 60 seconds, so that's why it is taking some time. And if I go to the autoscaling group, so I have this autoscaling group, and if I go to the activity history, so still it is waiting for the elastic load balancer. So elastic load balancer is draining that instance. Okay, let's move forward to our presentation. We'll come back once I'll show you the second demonstration. We'll see if new instance is created or not. Now let's talk about the higher level security. We can integrate the web application firewall, shield, and access control AWS Amazon Certificate Manager with the load balancer. So with web application firewall, it protects your web application from common web exploits such as SQL injections or HTTP flood protection, geomatching conditions. With AWS Shield, you can basically mitigate the distributed denial of service attacks, and with AWS ACM, which is Amazon Certificate Manager, you can basically provide the SSL TLS certificate to your load balancer. You can include that certificate with your domain without any cost. And these are the 7-layer security, which includes web application firewall, shield, security group, network access control list, Amazon Certificate Manager, load balancer, and key management service, which is used for encrypting the data. So in this diagram, you can see we have you have a load balancer which has web application firewall, access ACM, and shield, and you also have a KMS, which is basically can encrypt the data, encrypt and decrypt the data at rest. Now let's talk about the migration. So with migration, it's depend on the size of application. If your application is in small size, then you can use the S3. You can simply import the data. You can simply export the data and import it to the S3 bucket, and through that S3 bucket, you can download that data to your required server or application server and import it back to the database. And if you have a large website, then you can set up a VPN connection, or else if you're running a VMware virtual machine, then you can use the AWS Server Migration service. And in this diagram, you can see this architecture has now here. You will create an IAM user which will have a required permission that and it will upload. He will upload the data or dump into the S3 bucket. From that S3 bucket, that dump will be accessed to the database server, and through that you can import the data into that database server. And this is for the small size applications. And you can also set up a site-to-site VPN tunnel like this. You can have a customer gateway, which is a physical web firewall like a Cisco ASA, and you can make a VPN connection to the AWS, and you can have a two-way communication using that. Now let's talk about the continuous delivery, which means you can automate your software delivery process using CI and delivery pipelines. So continuous delivery, like you have a stage where you deploy your build, and then you have a staging environment, production environment, test environment. So once you deploy that build into a source stage, then it will automatically basically upload that build to the staging environment, whatever environment you have, without any interruption. That are continuous delivery. So like in this architecture, so a user with the permission, which have the permission, required permission, will upload the build to the bucket, S3 bucket, and that S3 bucket will trigger a code pipeline. That code pipeline will run the code deploy. That code deploy has the automation script that will deploy the application code to the database server, and then code pipeline will send the SNS notification to the required mail ID. And you also have the CloudWatch and CloudTrail always monitoring and logging your AWS account. Now let's see a demo on continuous delivery using code pipeline. So you can see it has launched to basically one instance, which is this one, which is in initializing state. And this is how you break the elasticity. Now let's go to the continuous delivery demo. So I have a bucket called Oracle Alcor demo. So I will upload my build into this bucket. Let me also open the code pipeline. And I also have a code pipeline named Oracle pipeline. Into that pipeline, I have two stages. One will be source and another will be deploy. And once I'll upload a file with the same name to this bucket, basically the versioning is enabled in this bucket, then the code pipeline will trigger, and basically it will deploy that build to the deployment server. So if I show you this, so I have two stages, which is source and deploy. So let me just upload the build to this bucket. So this build should be in zip file. Once I'll hit the upload button, so you can see it ran at 2 days ago, and the status was succeeded. Now it will automatically start executing, and within few seconds. So once the code pipeline will trigger that the new version has been uploaded. So you can see the first step is completed. Now it's performing the second step, which is the deployment. It is deploying the code to my database server. Now if I click on detail, so within few seconds you'll see the status has succeeded. Now it has successfully deployed that code to my server. And again, you can have multiple servers, so it can deploy that code to the staging prod environment. You can have multiple environment. Now let's verify this. For that, I'll go to my Oracle Apex console. I have a one work PDB. So basically, as a workspace means like it is a logical grouping of database objects. So inside that, should have created that application. So if I go here, so you can see we have a one application. So its ID is 111. So if I go to app ID 111, so we have our application ready. And we have a chart application up and running in AWS EC2 instance. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and let's move to the questionnaires.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Mayank. Great stuff. So I do have some questions that have come through. As a reminder, Please use the question section in the dashboard if you have any questions on today's topic. So let's jump right in here. How is Apex a rapid application development tool?
Yes, that's a very good question, Jeff. Apex is so tightly integrated to the Oracle database that we can prototype screens while sitting with our user. That is the reason we call it a rapid application development tool. It is so fast. The object browser allows you to create your database objects while you're viewing the same objects. The integrated development environment and all applications are run within the browser. The turnaround time of your development is like immediate. You make the change and you see it on the browser. Because Apex is declarative, you can easily make the changes in real time using the built-in wizards. The control session information is available for you because you have the security built in to the Oracle database. So you don't spend time on the connection configuration that take time in other web development frameworks. And that is why we call it a rapid application development tool.
Okay, got it. Thank you. How does Apex integrate with the database?
Okay. Apex, as we call it, is a truly database application. The integrated development environment, the menu, all of the screens that we see in Apex, they're all written in PL SQL. The metadata for all those screens reports are stored in tables within the database. When we point in our browser the URL to the Apex application, the listener receives the call and uses the PL SQL code to call the metadata stored in the tables and show us the screen on the browser. The user logs into the database using his user ID, and depending on the access that is allocated to that user, he could be an administrator, he could be the developer or an end user. Depending on the role, he's able to configure the application or run the application that he's assigned access to. And that is why Apex is integrated into the Oracle database as no other environment is.
Okay, thank you. How much does Apex cost and where can I get it?
Yes, this is one of the major benefits of using Apex. Apex comes pre-installed and completely integrated with Oracle Database Express Edition. For all other editions of database like the Standard Edition, Enterprise Edition, Apex comes as a free add-on that can be downloaded and installed. So if we choose to use Apex, like try before we buy Apex or try it before we want to install it, there is also a hosted Apex online facility on apex@oracle.com. This facility allows you to create and run your application, not your production application, but your development or staging application, just as you would run it on your own development environment.
Interesting. Okay, good, thanks. Can we use RDS for Oracle rather than installing it on EC2?
Let me answer this question. So I'll answer it technically. So basically, when you install Oracle on EC2 instance, then you'll have full access over your underlying host. But when you will create the Oracle database in RDS as RDS, then you won't have any access to your underlying server. So in future, if you want to create a continuous delivery pipeline, you won't be able to do that. Or even if you want to access your underlying server for like creating a directly, then you can't do it in RDS. So you can use it RDS, but with EC2, you'll have more control over your database server.
Got it. Okay. How can we mitigate the SQL injections, DDoS, DOS attack on our servers?
Like I said, we can do that using web application firewall, and we can use the AWS Shield also. We can integrate that to the load balancer, and we can like mitigate the DDoS attacks.
Okay, all right. How can I pull code from GitHub repository with code pipeline?
Okay. So recently, AWS has introduced GitHub as a source stage. Like before 2018, like you have to basically create a Jenkins server for that. So that Jenkins will pull the GitHub from the repository, GitHub, data from the GitHub repository, and that Jenkins will send the data to the S3. Now you can directly use GitHub as the source, and you can use basically deploy the data using the code deploy to your EC2 servers or whatever servers you have.
Okay. All right. Can we provision analytics with this application data?
You mean data analytics?
That's the question that's been typed in. Can we provision analytics with this
Okay.
application data?
So yeah, you can do that. You can use the AWS QuickSight for that. So you just need to make a database connection. It's like a Tableau. So but it's reside in the AWS account. You just need to make a database connection to the QuickSight, and you can basically visualize or analyze or transform your data.
Got it. Okay. Okay, just a couple questions left. Just a reminder, if anyone has any more questions, please use the question section of the dashboard. What will happen if your app server or database server goes down?
Okay, so for that, AWS use the auto recovery feature. So once AWS will detect that your EC2 EC2 is as unhealthy, then it will automatically migrate the elastic IP addresses, virtual disk, or whatever the network interface card it has to a new servers without letting the end user know, and that's all done in the backend.
Okay. All right. Last question. How can I identify from where users are trying to access the application? Is there a way to track them?
Yeah, there is a way, like you can use the AWS Cloud Trail that records the logging information. Whatever client is accessing your website, you can record their IP addresses and location and browser information, and you can visualize that information using the CloudWatch.
Okay. Excellent. Fantastic. Supriya, Mayank, thank you very much. Very informative, very interesting stuff today. The recording of today's webinar will be available on our website, www.alcortech.com. We will also send everyone attending a link to the recording via email. So thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you at the next webinar.